I'm hearing what you're saying. I've been talking to technology professionals a lot in the last couple of months, and I'm noticing a theme that you are telling me. That underneath, there's a lot, underneath your day job and your W 2 and your busy work, many of you have gotten a phone call from a former client, from a former job, from a friend, from a former employer, and they needed your help. They needed you to come in and solve some problem. Oftentimes, it is a former employer. Can you come back and do this one thing while you got your other job? You helped. You got paid, usually on a 1099. Everything kind of went well. And most people, when they tell me about the story, they thought it was a lot of fun, right? They thought there was a lot of energy in doing just that. And they had this really, really high. This was really cool. And then I'm kind of back at my day job. And they didn't recognize what had just happened. They do it, they go away. And we think about it, well, but that's just my employer needing some help. That's a friend needing some help. No, you were in a consulting operation. And when I talk to them, they're like, I want to do more of that. That's the second theme I keep getting. I've done it, and I want to do more of it. So let me just tell you, and one of the thing that they keep saying, and the thing that I have been asked is, help me do that. Help me move. Maybe not as a full-time consultant, but I want to move my expertise into the world. So I've got a couple of observations here. Just having done consultancies myself, having worked with lots of people starting consultancies over the years, is it doesn't usually start with a plan. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It starts with a problem. It starts with something that needs to be solved. Somebody knocks on your door and says, hey, can you fix this? Your expertise. I mean, we have unique expertise. You have safety engineers, quality engineers, engineers who are used to solving very specific problems to your industry. I have a friend of mine who, he's very good at solving very particular types of mechanical engineering problems, and he's very unique. And the uniqueness goes way down in the details, right? Usually, if I start hearing of their uniqueness, as a matter of fact, even though my background is in engineering, I don't know what they're talking about because they're so specific. And that's probably true of you. And if I started talking about my uniqueness, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about, unless we're exactly in the same spot. We have these deep niches of expertise, and they are usually where things start. So they don't start with a business plan, or they don't start with a website. So that's my first observation, is they just start. The second observation, though, in talking to a lot of professionals over the years, they've reached out to me, hey, I need to do this. I need to start this. I see the need for this. I want to do this. And we've talked through it, and they always start with the same thing. I don't have an LLC. I don't have a website. How do I do those things? And a lot of times they've even done those things. I've been involved in businesses that I actually got pulled into that they had been working on business plans for 6 months, and just let me translate that. Waste of time. The reason to set up an LLC is because you have clients, because you are busy, because you have money, and you need to invoice them. It's not, having an LLC doesn't get you people to pay you. Having a website, is probably not how they're going to find you. We don't usually do web searches for very technical, detailed work. Usually the way they're going to find you is, well, it's a whole nother way, mostly through your network. The third observation is I'm seeing, and this one's almost comical, is why would anybody pay me? I mean, we actually say those words I have said those words. Why would anybody pay me for this? And I've been laughed in my face when I said that. And I've probably laughed in other people's faces when they said that, because it's a strange thing to think about, because you're already being paid for this work, right? You're already an expert. You're already providing this service for one company or more. So when you're thinking about consulting, you're not a beginner. This is not, I'm stepping out and doing something I've never done before. No, you're probably doing something you've done so many times before, you don't even understand how to explain it to somebody, because you leave out a lot of details that to you are obvious. And to the rest of us are like, we don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I do. I get these emails and people are telling me, I'm doing this, and this. I'm trying to find clients. Can you help me? I don't understand what this, and this is. I mean, they have to explain to me in layman's terms, or maybe engineering terms, but they're using acronyms that I don't understand. They're so deep into their knowledge base that another engineer doesn't know. And so we're already doing these things. The moment that we think about consulting, we forget that we already know this part. The work is not the problem. When you start saying, why would somebody pay me? They're going to pay you because they have the same problem that your company you're working for now has. It just looks a little different. It's in a different industry, maybe. It's a different company, whatever. The shift here is not a skill. It's not credentials. It's not even a niche. It's a different way of seeing how you can work to serve people. So these are the conversations I keep having about, hey, I want to be consulting, and these are the kind of things that people are saying to me. So let me just give you a couple of different moves that you can be doing that will help you get moving if you have some interest in consulting, or if you just want to experiment with it a little bit, right? The cool thing about consulting is you're not locked in. You can do a gig or two and say, this is not for me, or you can go full bore and this is all I want to do. So here's move number one. Pay attention to what people are asking you for. Not what you think you could offer. I mean, is there going to be some overlap? Maybe, but you might be surprised. Very often, we're so technical, we think really deep technologically. And the problems that people have aren't that deep, and they're not that challenging, but they need your help. I have a good friend of mine. He was going to start a company. He's a very technically smart guy. He was going to start a new company, and he sat and told me about the technology they were going to use and all this kind of stuff, and it was all bleeding edge stuff. Now, his company started, and his company grew, and his company sold. So he was very successful. But what he looked like as the sold company, and even 6 months to a year in, was very different than what he told me. They weren't using any of that technology. The problems they were solving were much more simple. They were much more direct, and it was much easier than he thought it was going to be to solve the problem. He just saw the problem, and the solutions, and that happens all the time in consultants, right? What people actually show up and ask is the key. That's the gap, right? What are they asking for? And we have this tendency to overshoot, to make things overly complex. So where the consulting opportunity lives is usually stupid obvious to you. I'm not saying it's always going to be easy, but it's not the depth of complexity that you really understand. So listen, what are people asking about? So it can be people in your own company. I mean, you're probably working with a technical group inside your company, but if you listen outside that technical group, especially into the people who make the decisions, what are the real problems they talk about related to your expertise. So just listening. Number 2 is staying in conversations with people in your industry. Obviously goes back to number 1. If you're not listening to people, having conversations, and it may be over LinkedIn, it may be over some other social media, probably LinkedIn is most obvious, but it might be on some forum or something. It may be in conferences inside your tight-knit industries, whatever it is. You got to get outside your 4 walls, because your 4 walls of where you work are so loaded with expertise in your thing, you don't see clearly the value. All right, because you are all so good at it, and maybe you're the only one good at it, but everybody else understands what you're good at, and so you don't see the value. Consulting projects almost never come from marketing. I mean, most of the work I'm doing, for instance, I'm helping people do just what I'm talking about. I'm helping people start consultancies. It's not because I'm doing some marketing campaign. It's because I'm having conversations with people. They're saying, hey, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? Because they're happy to pay me, because their goal is a big financial win on the other side, right? It's not a complicated thing. You solve a technology problem in an industry, you save them money from hiring somebody full-time. You solve their problem that might go back to the quality. You solve a problem that might make them more appealing to their customers, or maybe their customers are demanding it. You just make problems go away, and problems mean money for industry. Right? So they almost never come from marketing, and they usually come from former coworkers. They usually come from people that you've met, people that you've worked with, industry connections. So all you need to do, you don't need to be out there with business cards handing them out. You just need to stay in conversation and listen, and be willing to speak up and say, hey, tell me more about your problem. That's really what you're doing. You're not saying, let me tell you how I can help you. You're like, tell me more about your problem. Your expertise becomes pretty obvious to you. So that's the move number 2, is staying in conversations. For a lot of you, it's going to be on LinkedIn, daily connecting, and you might need a strategy to do that. How do you stay in conversations? But you need to do that anyway, because that's where your future job is going to come from. Number 3 is your next project, or your next think next project. Think next project. Don't think about consulting firms. The consulting firm is just a wrapper. Think about I'm just doing work. A good consulting firm is that you learn to do the work for somebody else, and you have learned to keep your ear to the ground, being in the conversations, and you start to stack up work. And it's not because of the firm. The firm is more about handling accounting, and taking care of the money and doing the back end stuff your HR program right now does. It's super easy to do. It's not a complicated thing. You're not going to do most of it yourself anyway. You're going to get somebody else to do it in the end. But on the beginning, you're going to just file your taxes. That's it. So your goal right now isn't to build a company. Your goal is to get some people that you can help. That's it. One project at a time. And once you get to one, and many of you have told me you've already had the one, so how do I get the next one? And many of them, the one was somebody you were as a former employee. Well, how do you get the next one? And so it's just it's not a complicated thing, all right? But that's all you're looking for is the next project. So if you do these things, if you just pay attention to what people ask about, stay in the conversations, it may not happen immediately, but you will start to get other projects. You can be a little faster about it if you're more upfront in the conversations and all that. But if you're just like, I just want to see it come as it comes, this will do it. So here's what I want you to sit with and think about. Those are the 3 moves: paying attention, staying in conversations, and think about I'm just trying to find the next project. That's it. Here's what I do want you to sit with, to hang with. I want this to hang there with you. If someone has called on you in the last year and asked you for help with a work problem, you have already started. And sadly, many of you have had that happen and you didn't even know it happened. It may have been a question that you answered quickly on a phone call, or you kind of blew off, or an email, and it was right there in front of you, and they were really kind of begging for your help, and you pushed them away. And I've been known to do that. I don't have time to talk to you. Go do this. And not realizing, hey, these people need help. They need my help, or they need your help. And you didn't recognize it. So most people wait for some future version of themselves, right? We're waiting on us to be ready, or all these kind of things, to be more prepared, to have all of our ducks in a row, if you will. And that ain't happening. That's just not. It's not going to happen. That's ridiculous. Because we might be a better person. Hopefully we're a better person every day. That we know more. That we're better skilled. But business consulting is really more about being in motion than it is about being prepared. So that person exists in you right now. If you got a call today, you can be doing consulting projects today. You've probably been doing them yesterday. So the question really isn't whether or not you're ready, it's whether or not you are paying attention. So think about that. How do you pay more attention? Hey, if I can help, this is something I'm helping people doing with. If you're serious about this and you want to go after this, shoot me a message and we'll get on a call and see if we can help. Talk to you next week.